Yeah, over to you.
Yeah. So let me just start.
Hello, Gayatri.
Hi, Gayatri.
Yes, sir. Hello.
I've started recording. You can start speaking.
Okay. So, in our previous session, we learned about event registration, the front end, right? The form and how the user or the React reacts to user input. So today we will be understanding the backend portion of the same assignment. Okay. So until now, we created the event registration form on the front end. Now we need a backend, correct? So, why is backend important? So, what exactly backend means? Backend is something that can do routes, helps us store data and everything. Okay. So, what backend does is it works behind the scenes. It is not visible to the user. It normally handles logic, validation, storage, etc. Okay, so it can be put simply as the front end collects the data, but it cannot securely store or process it alone. So that's where backend comes into picture. Okay, so understanding a backend role in event registration. So as I told you, backend receives the data from front end. It processes the request that the client sends us or the user sends us, and it responds to the request. Okay. So, for example, when the user clicks submit button, the front end sends the data from the form to the back end to store it and validate it. Okay. So now what happens is the backend decides what to do with the data. So if we say store it in the database, then it will store it in the database. It will validate the data. So if anything is empty or if something is missing, it always makes sure that the validation is complete. Okay. And also it also has the logic to decide where to store. So for example, sometimes we make use of MySQL, or sometimes we make use of MongoDB. So all these things are part of the backend. Okay. So next key concept is handling client requests and responses. Okay. So what happens is normally in a scenario, the user fills out the form and clicks on submit. When the submit is clicked, the front end sends a HTTP request to the backend server. Okay. So now the backend needs to process this request. Okay. Once it is processed, the backend sends a response if it is a success or an error message. So if everything is going well, the connection is going good, there is no ambiguity or there is no errors, then the server will send, okay, the backend will say, okay, everything is working fine. The response would be success message. Else, if something breaks, say for example, the requested data or the table doesn't exist or the column doesn't exist, it sends up a error message. Okay. Our next concept is validating user submitted data. Okay. So now say in our assignment, okay, let me just start our server, front end server, cd assignment app npm. Okay. So we had event participant name, event name, and event date, correct? So these three are required. Okay, here we have it. Okay, these three are the main inputs. Okay, in the back end, we can say all these things are required in order to able to store it. Okay, so the backend checks if the fields are given an input. Okay, so then backend validates the data formats. For example, name of the participant should be letters, alphabets, and event name can be alphanumeric. The event date, however, should be in the date format, correct? So this validation takes place at the back end. Okay, this actually helps in preventing empty or incorrect data. Okay, so this is our basic validating user submitted data. This is just the basic validation. We could also go on about different types of validation, but we are not here to discuss all the types of validation. We will just see how it validates the data. Okay, so now what happens is storing data. Okay, since we are using MySQL, it is a relational database. So what happens is we need to create a schema, we need to create tables, and we need to have the data stored in it. Okay. So next important thing is creating database schema and tables. Okay. So once the validation is done, the data must be stored somewhere, correct? In order for us to see the data again and again and see, for example, take event registration form or, a simple Gmail registration. Okay. So once you create your Gmail account, you should be able to access it. Okay. So where does this get stored? It gets stored in our database, correct? So these data must be stored permanently. So in our scenario, we will be using MySQL. Okay. So a database contains schema, and schemas contain schemas contain tables. In our SQL, in our MySQL workbench, what happens is our schemas are nothing but tables. Okay. These two are one and the same in our scenario. Okay. But normally it is a little different in different databases. Okay. And what does, okay, we discussed schema. So what does the schemas or the tables contain? The tables contain the header, that is what the column represents, and its data. Okay, so rows and fields. So if there are 10 users, then it will have 10 fields. If it is accordingly the number of columns. So in our case, it is participant name, event name, and our date, event date. Okay. So it is very similar to our Excel sheet. Okay. So if, in our Excel sheet, we will normally have each row represents a different entity, whereas columns all remain the same for each of this entity. Okay. So next is processing and storing event registration data. Okay. So what happens in this scenario is we have our few requests APIs. Okay. So what it does is it connects the backend to the database, and the value, the data, the values given by the user is stored in our database. Okay. Each form submission is a different entity or different row. Okay. So say you want to register for 10 different events. So every time you click on the submit button, each of this becomes different entities. Okay. So in summary, what does backend do? Backend ensures, oh, sorry, my bad. Sorry. So the backend ensures data validation, proper data processing, permanent storage, and it tries to prevent data loss and maintains the reliability of the system. Okay. Backend is the core system that ensures the data is safe, accurate, and permanently stored. Okay. So now what we will do is we will see how to connect our front end to the SQL server, MySQL server, and then we write different APIs to trigger the same. Okay. So we will go back to our GitHub. So inside our event registration form repository, we have a folder called backend. We will be navigating into that. in the previous session, we did event registration form app, that is the front end. Today, since we are doing backend, we will go into the backend folder and open the README file. Okay. So here we are going to be using 4 new technologies. I will briefly discuss what each of it does. Okay. So before that, what we will do is we will try to install all of this. Okay. We will go to our steps and verify. Okay. If npm is already installed. Okay. Then we will go to step 3. Okay. Create a subfolder called backend inside the event registration form project. Our project is called assignment 4. So inside this, we have our front end assignment 4 app. We will be doing backend. Okay. So here we say, click on create new folder, and then we will be doing backend. Okay. So now what we will do is we will create a new terminal. Okay. And then navigate to backend. Okay. cd backend. Okay. Now we will be running npm init -y. Okay. What it does is it automatically generates a package.json file that tracks our project name and all the tools that we are going to be using in this particular scenario. Okay. So what we will do is npm init -y. Okay. And as you can see, we have our package.json. Okay. See, the name of this folder is backend. Its version is 1.0.0 because this is the basic version. You can give the description. Okay. But normally, okay, this is the backend for assignment 4 app. Okay. The main file that immediately runs would be called index.js. Okay. And the scripts that needs to be run. Okay. That this is just a test script, and keywords and authors. You could change this, but right now we will leave it as is. Okay. Now we need to verify if CORS, Express, MySQL, and NodeMon are installed. Okay. Once we see if it is installed or not, I will explain why we use each of these technologies. Okay. So here we go. So what we'll do is npm list. Okay. So we do not have anything. We do not have CORS, Express, MySQL, or anything. So in order to install it, we will be running here the dependency. Okay. Step 7, npm install CORS, Express, MySQL, NodeMon. Okay. I will tell you in a second why we are doing all of these things. Okay. Okay. It started installation. Okay. So we will go back to the starting of the page and we will see. Okay. CORS. This is a new technology, correct? We haven't used CORS until now. So what does CORS mean? CORS is a short form for cross origin resource sharing. Okay. What the usage of this is, it allows your front end and back end to talk to each other safely. Okay. So normally what happens is, normally our back end is hosted on a different server and our front end will be hosted on a different server. Okay. So when we set up CORS, it enables us to talk to each other safely. Okay. So yeah, CORS is done. So next is Express. Okay. It simplifies server-side API development. Okay. So what does it mean actually? So basically, when you try to build a server, you need to have different APIs, you need to have different routes. Okay. So what Express does is, Express makes it easier to build this. Okay. Without Express, we would have to build, say, 100 lines of code in order to ensure that everything is addressed, all the requests are, all the routes, APIs, everything is handled correctly. Okay. So it's a little complicated. Okay. So in order to make this easier, we make use of Express. Okay. Express is nothing but a helper tool to build to build APIs. Okay, it is simple and it is very quick. Okay, so next would be MySQL 2. Okay, as it says, it connects Node.js to MySQL. So, say for example, it just enables the data exchange between our SQL server and our Node.js. Okay, that is our application. So, if we come here, we can see we have our local instance. Okay, so in order to be able to talk to MySQL, you will need its own set of languages. It needs its own responses and everything. So MySQL will provide us with all these set of keywords. Okay, all these functions and everything. Okay, it acts as a translator. Okay, so NodeMon automatically restart server on changes. So normally in our typical scenario, if we do not use NodeMon, whenever there is a change in our server, we will have to stop the server and restart the server. Okay. But imagine every time a server needs to do this, there can be loss of data, there can be people accessing our server, there can be n number of things happening in the back end, correct? If it just goes out, for example, there was a YouTube outage a few weeks ago, okay, and that caused a huge scare. Like people are like, why isn't YouTube working? Has YouTube been shut down? Everything. So in order to prevent that, the confusion and everything, what we do is we use NodeMon. What NodeMon helps is automatically it restarts the server, okay, without having to stop it and restart it every time there is a change on our server. Okay, any questions?
No, ma'am.
No?
This
Okay, then
Nodeman is not required for a normal React app, is it?
I mean, it is not a bad idea to use it. So whenever there is some changes, say for example, in sorry, so in our code, say for example, we create a new request. Okay, normally there is post or fetch, correct? So
Yeah.
post is for storing the data and fetch is for fetching the data that is already in the database. Say for
Mm.
example, we add a new API or a new route to our application. So then what we need to do is, without NodeMon, we need to stop our server and restart it in
Mm-hmm.
order to reflect the new changes.
Okay.
So, for example, say we just have app4.com/dashboard. Now we introduce a new route called app4.com/, say all users. So if we do this, we will have to stop the server and then restart it
Okay.
in if we do not use NodeMon. But with using NodeMon, we can automatically ensure that the server doesn't stop, but the changes are reflected.
Okay. Carry on.
Yeah. So now we will run the installation is already complete. So we will run npm list. Okay. As you can see, we have our course, Express, MySQL2, and NodeMon. And we can also verify it in our package.json. See here, in the dependencies portion, we have course, Express, MySQL2, and NodeMon. What this means is this version, this 3.1.14 and above, upwards. Okay, you can automatically also install the updates without having to uninstall and reinstall it. Okay. So now we did it. Once this command is completed, verify the installation by using npm list command in terminal. We did that right now. So create a file called server.js. Okay. So what we will do is we'll go back to our Explorer, and here in the backend, we will create a new file called server.js. Okay. Now, Okay, now we also need to let the package.json know that every time there is a change in server.js, it needs to restart it. So we will add the ninth step. We will add the line of code start nodemon server.js under scripts in package.json. So we will copy this. We will go back to package.json. We will close the Explorer. And here in the scripts, we will be adding this. Okay. Always remember, if there are multiple scripts or multiple inputs for the scripts, we always need to add a comma at the end. If it is the last one, no need to add comma. Okay. So whenever we do npm start for backend, nodemon makes sure the server.js file is running up and running. Okay. So now we can do npm start. Okay. So as you can see, starting node server.js, clean exit, waiting for changes before restart. Okay. We can see this. Okay. Now what we need to do is we need to have different routes. Okay. So routes are nothing but user defined. Okay. It can be /dashboard, /home, /login, everything. Okay. So now we have installed our Express, MySQL course and everything. So what we need to do is we need to import them. So we are going to do the step 10 here. So import Express from Express, MySQL from, so we are creating instances of each of this tech. Okay. So we will copy paste it here. So now we did all of this. Now we need to have an instance. Okay, in order, as I told you previously, we use Express to enable quicker API building, correct? So we need to create a Express application instance. So we do this by having a variable called app normally. Okay, so const app is equal to Express. Okay, so we created it, and now of course we need a port number. Anytime we try to host something, we need a port number in order to be able to connect it. Okay, in order for two applications to talk to each other, we need to always have a port number. Okay, we are going to say const port is equal to 3001. Okay, because we are already using 3000 for our front end, we will be using 3001 for our back end. Or also we could use 8080. Okay. So now we did it. So now we need to have something called middleware. Okay. This is where we make use of CORS. As I told you, CORS is the technology that we will be using in order to allow the front end and the back end to talk to each other. Okay. So we will say middleware, and then we will say dot use of CORS. So we are saying this instance of Express, we are making use of CORS in order to enable the front end and back end communication. Okay. So now we have this. Okay. So in order to read data from the back end, as I already told you, it should be in the JSON format. So we need to also have that statement. Okay. So app dot use, we say use for all of it, and we say express dot JSON. So any response or request will be in the JSON format. Okay. So we are done a little bit with the middleware. Now we need to have how do you call it? Okay. So we are done with middleware. So now we will check the basic route. Okay. So what we will do is we will create a simple test route to verify if the backend is running or not. So what we will say is app.get. Get is in order to for us to fetch the data from the server. Okay. And then here we will be saying a simple thing. Okay. So we will define a route. Okay. Slash. Okay. This is our basic route, test route, or you could also say slash test, but normally it would be a slash. Okay. We will not complicate or have too many things with us. Okay. So normally what happens is we will have a request and a response. Okay. Now what we are going to do is we are going to create an inbuilt function. This is a function. Okay. So it will have the parameters request, comma, response. Okay. So we will do this. Okay. Since it is a function, it should always be enclosed within the flower brackets. Okay. So what we will do is, as I already told you, every function should have a return statement. So we will be returning what? We will return response. So the response dot JSON. It will be in JSON format, correct? So we will say a simple statement, say backend is running. Sorry, my bad. Backend is running. Oh my God. Sorry, my bad. Okay. So what is happening? So we will see our terminal. Appmon.dev crashed. Why did it crash? So starting. Okay, let's restart it. Why did it crash? So we will go back here and we will try to access it. Okay. We'll say localhost 3001. Okay. Should not, the site is not running. Why? What is the problem? Okay. Let's see. Oh, we did not add the listener. So we need to also add a listener. So we can do everything, but when there is no listener, then there is no use of doing any server items. Okay. So that's why our app is getting crashed. Our server is crashing because we do not have a listener. So what we will do is we will say app.listen. So we are saying, okay, listen everybody. In this particular scenario, we are going to be listening on our port, that is 3001. Okay. And then we will say, here also we need to create a function. Okay. But this does not have any parameters. Okay. So we will be saying console.log and say, we are going to be using interpolation here. Server is running on port. So now we are going to make you see and make use of the port. Okay. Ampersand and say port. No, it is still crashing. Why is it still crashing? We will say Control C, npm start. This is not working. Why is it crashing? Cannot use module. Okay. We will just expand this a little. Okay. We will see here. Okay, what is happening? Cannot use import express from. Okay, so here what we are doing is in package.json, we are saying the type is CommonJS. Okay, so this should be module. Okay, so okay, so that's the thing. There's a difference. Okay, if you use CommonJS, okay, this should be something like not import here. It should be express is equal to require express. Okay, so we will be not using import, but we will be using something like this. Okay. Then again, it will run. It shouldn't be a problem. But see, then again, this would be CommonJS. So what we will do is we will just do this to module. Okay. And then here we will say import express from express. Okay. So now you can see, right? Restarting due to changes, it automatically restarted. I did not stop the server and restarted. And starting node server.js. So this file is automatically running on its own. And now we also have our console.log. So console.log server is running on, this should be port. Okay. So we have it. Server is running on port 3001 and our backend is running up and running. So this is our basic server. Okay. We haven't included any routes, anything. We are just including a test run. Okay. So we will say test run for server. Okay. So every time you save this file, it automatically gets updated. Okay. So let's say we will add something. Okay. Successfully. Okay. So now we save it, give it some time because it needs some time to reflect. Okay. Now what will happen is after some time, the local host, the server automatically updates and says backend is running successfully. Okay. It will take some time. We will not refresh it. Okay. So now we did. Okay. So it should be working. Okay. It will take time. But in the meantime, let us start our backend. Okay. So we will create a schema in MySQL Workbench. So I open my SQL Workbench. Okay. Here, okay. See, here we already have a local instance, correct? So we click on that and then there's a new thing. So now what we need to do is we need to create a new, okay, I will delete this, okay? Drop schema, drop now, okay? So now what we need to do is we need to create a new table or the schema, okay? As I told you, in MySQL, schema is nothing but a table, okay? But in real time, it is not the case, okay? So what we do is we go to the navigator schema section and right click and say create schema, okay? Now we will name our schema event registration, okay? Then we will say apply, okay? See, when you click on apply, we get our data, our normal, command for creating the table, okay? You need to make sure it is right. Create schema event registration app, which is correct. So we say apply, okay? Execute SQL statement and then finish, okay? Now you see our event registration app is created, okay? Now just click on this and then we have our tables, okay? We haven't created any, don't say, okay? We haven't created anything here, okay? We haven't created any tables. So what we will do is we'll right click on it, on the tables, and then say create table, okay? So the table would be event users underscore event registration, my bad, okay? And then we will click, we will have to have columns here, okay? So this would be participant name and the data type should be varchar, okay? That is because it has alphabets, okay? Integer is only for numbers, okay? So we say pk is primary key, okay? And it shouldn't be a null statement, so which we have ticked, okay? Not null, okay? It should be there. Next, close. Okay, sorry, my bad. We need to also say how many characters long it will be. So let us say 50 characters. Okay, that is the max you can enter. Okay, next we need to have our event name. Okay, that is also varchar because it can have alphabets and numericals. So it is varchar 45. So as I told you, we can have a particular participant participating in 3 or 4 different events, correct? So we cannot, when something is assigned as primary key, then the value cannot be repeated. So in order to not clash it, we will also add event name as primary key. Okay, we are done. Okay, whenever something is assigned primary key, okay, wait, I will try to increase it. Okay, it's not increasing. I understand that you cannot see it properly, but unfortunately, I'm unable to increase the size at this point in time. So please do adjust to this situation. Okay, and also we have something called event date. Correct? We have participant name, and event date. So we are going to have, okay. So we are going to have our third column name as event date. Okay. So now you already know that there can be a single participant actively taking up different events, participating in different events. But the events can also repeat. So the participant might say, okay, today I am attending React JS for beginners. But the same participant can also say, okay, I want a refresher on this course and start and register for the next event as well. So that might also be the issue. So what we could do is we could also have event date as our primary key. So basically all these three together repeating itself will not be the same case. Okay, it will never be the case because say event React JS for beginners will happen on 23rd of February 2026, but the same event cannot happen again, correct? So in order to do that, we will be hosting all these choosing all these three as our primary key. So once it is a primary key, it is automatically set to not null. Okay, so what we will do here is we will say apply. Okay, one more thing, a simple thing here, the data type can also be a date. Okay, but the thing is here in our connectivity between MySQL and React, there's always an issue with date. Okay, whenever the date says 23rd February 2026 is stored, when it sends the data to our React, it increases the day. Okay, so for example, if you have registered for 23rd, it will show it as 24th. So in order to not have this confusion, we will be having it as varchar itself. Okay, and we will say apply, and we have our command for creating this. Okay, I will just send it in the chat for your reference. Okay, so and then we will say apply. We will execute the statement and finish. So if we see here, if we go to the tables and click on this, we will have our user registration event table, and then inside that we will have our columns. Okay, see participant name, and event date. Okay, so our table is ready, our schema is ready, and our columns are ready to receive the data. So what we will do is we will minimize this, go back to our readme.page and see what needs to be done. Okay, so we did until step 16. Now we will start creating our database connection. Okay, so what we will do is we will have create connection to the database. Okay, we will have our variable const db is equal to mysql dot create. Okay, I will just copy paste this. Okay, so remember always to replace your username, password, and the database name. Okay, so here the username is root. I have no password given to it, so this would be blank, and our database name would be event registration app. So I will just copy this. Okay. Okay, I'm able to copy the. Okay, wait. Let me just go to the chat and say event registration app. Okay. So I will paste it here. So always remember whenever you are trying to create a connection, everything, the username, the host, the password, the database should match whatever you have given in the instance. Okay. So now I will save this. Okay. So now what we need to do is we need to create short APIs. Okay. We need to have a get and a post. Okay. So now we are going to add the get and the post. Okay. So it says app.get. So if we navigate to this particular path or the route, we will be getting all the users or all the data from the database. So we will copy this and we will paste it here. Okay. So it says select star from event registration. So this shouldn't be event registration database. It should be the table name. Okay. And our table name was what? Users event registration. Correct? So we are going to do that. Okay. So we will copy paste this here. Okay. So from users event registration. Okay. Now, if anything runs into an issue, we will have our error or the success message. Okay, now we will save this. Okay, once you save it, as you can see in our terminal, the server is restarting. Okay, now let us try to see if it is running. Okay, slash list. Okay, we are having an empty list because we do not have any data in our tables. Correct? Where is it? My bad. So we will just add some dummy data to this. Okay. So we will say, go to the column. So, so here we just click on this table format. Okay. Select star from. So there's nothing. So what we will do is we will just add some dummy data. We will say MRUDULA. Event name is React JS. And then the date is 2302. Let's say 2302 2026. Okay. And then we will save. No, like that. Then we will do apply here. And then we have our insert statement. Okay. I will copy paste this in our chat for our reference and then finished. Okay. So we will see if it is getting displayed in list. Okay. In our server root. Okay. My bad. We will say refresh, and you can see here, right? So it has retrieved the data from the SQL successfully. So that means the app.get is working fine and the connection is also working good. So now what we do is we need to post something, correct? So what we do is we get the information and then we post it. Okay. So we will just copy this and I will edit it here. Okay. Just a moment. So we will go back here and say, so we have here users event registration. Okay. And then we will say here, we will replace this. My bad. Okay. Then we have participant name. We do not have employee ID, organization designation, anything. We have event name. And then we have event date. Okay. So we will be deleting all the unnecessary things. And we will just have 3 exclamations that says, okay, the user has given the input. Okay, then we will be deleting all of this and this and this. Okay, we will be saving this. And we have an issue here. Okay, what issue is that? Return json.res. Okay, we will see what exactly it is. Okay, why do we have this? We still have this issue. Ah, we have our request was, we have it here. DB. Until here, everything is fine. Okay, we will just remove the statement here and see. When do we have this issue? Okay, we have this here. So there shouldn't be anything after this. Insert into values. Restart. This one. Okay, we will see what unexpected token dot 42. But this should be. Why do we have this issue? Okay. This. Yeah. Yeah, now it's working fine. Okay. So basically, everything should be working fine now. So let's go back, let's refresh it. Yeah. See, the only change was I removed the flower brackets. Okay. It was thinking that it is another value. So that's why it was saying, please give a comma and not a dot. Okay. So now let us go back and then we will see. Okay. So we are done with the backend. So everything from the backend, whatever we need to do, we have our registration, we have our list function, everything that we are trying to do. Okay. So now we also need to create a API for registration. So what we need to do is we need to follow a few more steps that are in readme.to in the front end part of the application. So what we will do is we will go back and then we will click on event registration form, and our front end was named here it was named assignment4.app. So we will go back to event registration, readme2.md, and here we need to create an API for that. So here we go to the Explorer, we go to assignment4 app, go to the source, and then we will as you already know, we will be grouping all the JSX files together in pages. Similarly, we will be grouping all the APIs in a folder called API. Okay, so we will do this API, and then here we will say new folder, and we will say registration.js. Okay. Here what we will do is we will have a function to make sure that the registration takes place easily and successfully. Okay, we will copy paste the code and I'll explain what the code does. Okay, so what it is doing is it is an async function. As I already told you, normally when we are dealing with APIs, we use something called await and async. Okay, this is in order to make sure that we have the response, the request and the response is properly communicating with each other. So the backend and the front end are in sync with each other. Okay. So what we are going to do, we are going to say register the participant. The function is called register participant. And then we are going to give the parameter as the form data. As you remember, in our page1.jsx, we will have form data, which takes in all the data from the user and stores it until we click on submit button. Okay. So now what we are going to do is we are going to fetch. Okay. We are going to fetch the URL. So that is our SQL host. Okay. Our backend host. Okay. And then once we say /register, so we are going to add the /register and we are going to use the method post. So we are inputting the values. So we are going to use the method post, and it is application JSON type. Okay, the content type is JSON. Okay, and then body will be stringified. Okay, so JSON.stringify is the function that converts any value into a object. Okay, JavaScript object. Okay, then we are going to wait for the response from the server. So the response, as you see, would be registration successful. Okay, so we will be going to wait for that response. If it is not okay, so if it comes as ERR, okay, everything, okay. So if the response is not okay, then it is an error and it says fail to register the participant, and it will return the data. Okay, and we are going to use try catch. Any unexpected issue, okay, if the server is down, then we will that is going to say throw an error, so that we are going to catch it and then we are going to print it. Okay, we are going to save this. We will go back to React app, and then we are going to our readme app, and then we are going to add some changes to our page1.jsx. Okay, we are going to have a success method and a success message and a error message. Okay, in our page1.jsx. So we are going to copy this and we are going to add it at the beginning with other variables. Okay, we are going to add it after our form data. Okay, so now we also need to know if once you register, normally registration successful message will appear, correct? So where does it appear? Inside our form. So what we are going to do is we are going to add success message or error message within the form tags. Okay, here. Okay. These are just beautifications. Okay. Nothing else. So now we are going to say, see here, we are going to set success message, set error message. If form.participant data, we are going to check for the validation at the front end itself. All fields are required. If we skip by chance, if this required here, no required attribute we have added, by chance that fails in some situations, then it needs to have a backup verification validation. Okay. So that we are going to copy and handle within handle submit. Okay, where is handle submit? Here. So we are going to remove this alert and we are going to paste this. Okay. Okay. So I think we have some issues. Await is not only within. So await. So as you already know, if we are going to use await, we need to have async. So we say async function handle submit. So register participant is not. Okay, we are going to say registration. Okay. Now, okay. Now we have to import this API into our this registration.js into our file. So we are going to copy the import statement and then we are going to paste it here. Okay. Yeah. So now we have no issues. So let's see if both our servers are running. Okay. That is the front end and the back end. The back end is running well and good, and the front end has an issue. Okay. The module cannot resolve API registration. So let's see. Page1.jsx dot slash API. Okay. It should be capital API since we said here. Okay. So we are going to do API. No. Double dot. Save. Reload. Let us try to restart. Yeah, we have successfully done it. Okay. So now let's try to leave everything and then say submit. Please fill in this field. Okay. So let's say, please enter the name. Event name. Okay. This is just a dummy data that I'm using. Okay. 24th and then submit. Okay. So we have it. We did not have any response. So let's go back to the server and check if it is having anything. I will say select event.
Has it inserted?
I think it should have inserted. Yeah, here it has inserted. I just needed to refresh the data. So as you can see, we have it. Please enter the name, event name, and this is just a dummy data. Okay. Now let us see if it is still in the backend. Okay, we will go to localhost 3001/list. Okay, we will refresh this and we have it. Okay. So what we did today was create backend. We created an API for registration of the users, and then we also have retrieval. Okay. So we used post and get. Okay. Any questions?
So what was that listen part?
Okay. So what you need to do is, so in order for the compiler to understand that it should be doing something, you have to have the listen function enabled. Okay. without the listen, the server or the compiler doesn't know what needs to be done, and it will throw you an error. Okay, let us try to delete this and see. Okay, so here we will go back and then we will say refresh. See, it says this site cannot be reached. Correct? So
Yes.
the compiler doesn't know, okay, that you need to do something, you need to display something. So in order for it to understand that it needs to keep listening, it is more like letting the compiler know that this should be working. Okay, you need to listen to this URL and display it. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, you don't need to have this. Okay, it is just for us to see here. Okay, you can just
Okay.
say like this. It can just be a blank thing. Okay, if you say save, see, it still works. Okay,
Okay.
it is just that we are debugging it. We are just seeing, before starting the server, we are seeing it here in our console, and we are
Okay.
checking it if it is working fine or not. That's it. It can just be
Okay.
a blank thing. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
So, any other questions?
Like how that API is storing these values, I didn't get you that.
Which one?
How this API stored these values?
These values.
Yeah.
So, what we are going to do is we created a route. Okay. So, as soon
Okay.
as this route is called, okay.
Root. Okay.
Okay, route. Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, as soon as this route is called, okay, what happens is, see here, what we did was in page1.jsx, we said as soon as you click on submit, you need to call, see, handle submit, you need to call this function, register participant. Okay, this
Okay.
register participant is the what do you call it, is an instance of registration.js file. Okay, so we are
Okay.
importing registration.js file into it, and in registration we say, see, this is what you need to do. You need to fetch the URL,
Okay.
this, okay, this URL. Okay,
Okay.
so
Okay.
if we need to fetch it, say we do this. Okay, it cannot get because we are using method called post. If we change it to get, it will be something else. Okay, say, let us say get. Okay, and we say nothing, because here also we are saying it to be a post. Okay, so what we are doing here is we are trying to post it. Okay, as soon as
Okay.
submit button is clicked, it will trigger
Oh,
this. It will trigger this everywhere. So it will trigger this, which in turn triggers post, and then it will take
okay.
all this information and store it in our database.
Okay.
Okay, because that is what we are doing in this function. We are getting the values and then we are creating a query and saying this needs to be stored.
Okay.
Okay.
So it looks similar like PHP.
Um, I am not sure because I'm not very. I don't have any PHP knowledge. I have just basic knowledge, so I'm not quite sure. Maybe you are right, Pranav.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Ma'am.
Okay.
Yeah,
So what we,
thanks, Mrudula. It was very interesting. Thank you very much.
yeah. Thank you, sir. Uh, Gayatri or Pranav, do you have any other question?